We Just Disagree Week continues with The Hunger Games, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Yes, this is a spoiler-free review for you of this Hunger Games prequel. We just talked about the Marvels, which we don't agree on. Alonzo liked that. I didn't. I like this. He doesn't. One of us is right.
Welcome to the Capitol.
You look like you shouldn't be here.
I shouldn't, but I'm your mentor.
A rebel.
This is the prequel to the Hunger Games books and movies based on Suzanne Collins' book. We now have the Coriolanus Snow supervillain origin story. In case you're wondering how he became Donald Sutherland, now we know.
Which we should all aspire to be.
I mean, I'm always a little curious about that. So Tom Blythe plays young Coriolanus Snow. It is the dystopian future of Panem, but it is like 64 years before the events of the first Hunger Games book. So he is a teenager. He is like 18 years old. And he came from this once wealthy and very prominent family, but like so many, he has fallen on hard times because of all the awful stuff that's happened. We can blame the districts. Oh, she's so district. They say it like they're bridge and tunnel. Oh, so district. Like they have an 818 phone number or something. So, so he and all of his rich dick friends all get assigned tributes from the various districts for this Hunger Games. It's like the 10th Hunger Games, right? And it looks very different from the Hunger Games that we will know them to be in terms of it's not all that elaborate just yet.
Yeah, and the ratings are down.
Ratings are down, so they got to do something to juice up viewership. And so what they've decided is that it's not whose tribute wins.
Although it kind of is.
It's whose tribute puts on the best show,
right.
Whose tribute puts on the best spectacle and gets viewership up and gets like donations up from the people in the hinterlands. Kind of like American Idol, really. I mean, it's very much like evil, deadly American Idol, more so than ever with this because they're really plugging people like, hey, if you like so-and-so, send them some money. And
Snow is creating a lot of these things.
He's very canny. Yeah. As far as like knowing how to manipulate audiences and knowing how to like change the game, how to tweak it for maximum spectacle. And so Viola Davis is in charge of all of the games at this point. Peter Dinklage is is he the dean of their academy, like the rich kids school? Everyone is totally cynical and calculating, but he in particular seems really just disillusioned by this whole process and thinks it should end. But nevertheless, Coriolanus Snow gets paired up with Lucy Gray Baird, the titular songbird played by Rachel Zegler of West Side Story. And it's how they initially conspire to get her to win or to at least put on the best spectacle. Because if she wins, she is deemed the most exciting. He gets this prize that will help lift their family out of pretending not to be poor. Anyway, this is 2 hours and 37 minutes long. And the first 2 chapters of the 3 chapters are a lot of the kind of Hunger Games stuff that we are accustomed to in terms of young people tearing each other apart, forming alliances and just trying to survive. The 3rd chapter, things change. And I don't want to really say what all happens because it's a departure in a lot of ways, tonally, visually, in terms of location. And like that part to me is really the most exciting. The whole thing of watching his arc is very compelling. Tom Blythe is really good in this because at first he has to be just kind of coolly inscrutable and like charming and blasé, but to watch the hardening of him, to watch the choices that he makes along the way, that he doesn't think are evil. He thinks he's just like doing what he has to do in each moment to survive. And to see how all of those accumulate and put him on the path that we're going to know him to go down to become as evil as he is by the time the movies come out that we know of, that's really fascinating. And Rachel Zegler is so charming and so likable doing this kind of like folksy, sweet, but like world weary thing. She sings and plays the guitar and is entertaining as hell and is just so good at like connecting. She's got these eyes and this presence. And like, if you loved her in West Side Story, you're going to find her very entertaining here as well. So I thought the place that it goes is so quietly chilling and suspenseful. And the way they use this setting and the pacing of it, it has a great payoff toward the end. So I was entertained, although I found it kind of sloggy at times.
So yeah, the movie is divided into chapters, as you say, and the first 2 chapters deal with the lead up to the Hunger Games and the actual Hunger Games. And then the Hunger Games end, and I thought, okay, good, we can go home. And then there was a chapter 3, and I was like, no, because I was already so bored, and then I just got more bored. Tom Blythe is such a blank slate in this movie. I didn't find him interesting at all, and I didn't find his slide into being evil very interesting because it's a prequel. We know he's going to be evil. We know he's not going to die. We know that this character is going to emerge to do all this other stuff. So I didn't care about the road to get to the part that we already know, which is kind of what a prequel has to do, or has to go completely off in a different direction, I think. In my review for the film verdict, I said the one interesting idea this movie has to offer is that the lead character lies about his wealth, understands how to make good reality TV by appealing to the worst in human nature, and will one day be president. But beyond that, I didn't care about any of this. And like Rachel Zegler, when she sings, is super magnetic, and I really enjoyed those moments. But overall, I didn't find the character all that interesting. I liked some touches here and there, like Viola Davis is madly camping it up, as is Jason Schwartzman, and they're fun to watch. I liked the choices of when the games start and we're in the TV studio, there's all these little 50s touches, like the way the TV screens are rounded at the corners and the fonts and stuff. It brings back the sort of like dawn of the medium kind of appeal that I thought was visually interesting. But the games themselves, because like you say, they aren't nearly as elaborate as they become later. Like when Viola Davis talked about, like, I created the games, I'm the master of these games. Like, you're the master of putting a bunch of kids in an arena and dumping some weapons in the middle. That's it. Like, because that's kind of all there is. It's only because like there's the arena's kind of bombed out that it gives them these like things to climb on and stuff to hide behind or whatever. But generally speaking, they're very rudimentary. So I don't know what she's so proud of about having created these games. Anyway, that put to the side, I just was bored out of my mind for so much of this movie. Prequels are hard to do because we know where they're going. And so you either have to like give us some detail along the way that enhances what we already know, like the flashback sequences in Godfather Part 2 kind of give you this idea of like where Don Corleone came from and why, what drove him and all this stuff. But like, yeah, I think this movie's a snooze.
There is a thing that Viola Davis's character does that like changes stuff and forces them to all have to scramble and think for themselves. And I think she probably had more stuff lined up, but the arena got bombed out before they could begin.
Could
so
be.
Maybe that's
Arguably,
part of it.
yes, sure.
I found this interesting in the same ways that like seeing how Anakin Skywalker becomes Darth Vader is interesting, right? We know he's going to get there, but it's the journey, not the destination. And so the little tiny choices here and there, and his willingness to accept his own darkness, I found really compelling, because I think in the beginning he thinks he's doing the right thing. He thinks he's doing the good thing, to survive. But I think he thinks he's a good person in the beginning, and a noble person, and a person worthy of ascending to those heights. And by the end, he's just like, I'm gonna do what I have to do, and I'm going to live with it, and it's going to be okay. So that evolution was really interesting. And you see it in like the way his posture changes, and like the slightest flicker in his eye that indicates a hardening that wasn't there before. So I thought he was really good. I didn't recognize him at all from The Gilded Age. We have recapped The Gilded Age on our Patreon. Yeah. He has brown hair in real life, apparently.
He's on this Billy the Kid show that I've never watched, and he's got brown hair in that. The original wave of Hunger Games movies, I liked all of them. I thought they were really entertaining. I thought they even got better as they went along in a lot of ways. But there's nobody in this movie that has the pop of Jennifer Lawrence, who I think maybe went a long way to making those movies more exciting. So there was nobody here that I was invested in or found to be as dynamic a performer. Certainly not Tom Blythe. Sorry, maybe he's good in other stuff. I did not care about him at all here.
I mean, Rachel Zegler has that pop, but I think so Francis Lawrence directed this, who did most of the previous Hunger Games movies. So there's a continuity in terms of like pacing and tone and all that stuff. And I think if you are a super fan of all this stuff, you're going to enjoy going back to District 12 and seeing the exact spot where Katniss raised her hand and said, I volunteer as tribute. You know, learn that we have little tidbits about Mockingjays and the name Katniss. And so I think if you like all that stuff, it's like, ooh, there's a thing I know. I mean, again, I'm not a super fan of the Hunger Games, but I think if you are, you're gonna dig it. If you are stuck in a dystopian future though, and want a little pick me up, want to get a little warm and cozy, may I recommend Coffee Bros. I wish you could smell this, you guys. It smells so good. And like, look how cute the packaging is. The holiday blend has cute little snowmen on it. We have a deal with our friends at Coffee Brothers. It is 15% off your order with the code breakfast15. If you order at least $50 worth of their delicious coffees, the shipping is free. This has notes of cooked berry and cocoa and wine. We've been enjoying it in the morning. It's a little sweet. It's delicious. So go check them out. Yeah,
it's way better than swamp potato and squirrel.
Is that what? Yeah, that's what they're eating in Pan Am. So yeah, the costume design, and Jason Schwartzman is a hoot. He has these like dry zingers. He couple times he says something like, "See what happens when you do stuff."
Yeah.
And that we see in real life. Like there's a lot of, again, it's not novel, but there's a lot of like real life corollaries as far as just the cynicism of spectacle and all that. So everyone's good in it. I enjoyed it. I'm going to give it like a 7.9.
Come on. I mean, I get that you would, oh man. All right. I give it a 3. I'm sorry.
Wow. It's really well made, Alonzo. Don't you think from a technical perspective, it's really good? No,
there's some good set design going on. Yes, the costumes are interesting, although not as interesting as what we're going to get later or earlier. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, I'm seriously, I cannot think of another movie this year where I just was like, I felt like I had an anvil in my lap. I was so like, waiting for this thing to be over. I was, if you bore me, then that you lose a lot of points, and that's why I'm a 3.
Who's right? Who's wrong? The Hunger Games, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes doesn't even come out until next week, November 17th. So let us know if you're looking forward to it. Let us know what you think. Who's right, you guys? Who do you trust?